Goitom, our Icarian artist from Ethiopia, as well as another chunk of the cast of Drawn to Life. My name is Tim Bennett. I'm the artistic director of the show. So I want to talk a little bit about the next number, Dream of Colors. This is a number that was in the show before, and we've decided to augment it a little bit, to add a little bit more aerial flavor to it. It's an homage to Mary Blair, who was one of the original Disney animator colorists. Most of the Disney animators were men. And this also pays homage to the female component, which were the paint and ink girls. So the men would do the original drawings, the animations, and then they would send them over to the paint and ink building, where the women would then sketch them onto acetate and paint in the colors. So the first ladies that you see come up are a bit of an homage to that, and then the single actress that you see come out is an homage to Mary Blair. Now Mary created the color palettes that we really identify with for Disney, and you're going to see a whole lot of projections that are all her work. The acrobatics in this number, we have a Russian cradle duo that initially start out as our color palette all the way upstage, and that was part of the original act. What we've added to this now are cerceau artists, aerial hoops, that the paint and ink girls will perform as they go up in the air. So it's a bit of a double acrobatic act for us. And I think we're about ready to go. So ladies and gentlemen, Dream of Colors. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Sasha and Alina up there, the Russian cradle, and our three cerceau artists were Andriana, Liz, and Katya, and our Mary Blair feature was also Katya. I'm going to invite the entire cast that you saw today out.
We just got to see a couple of new acts that have been here since February, approximately.
Yes.
And can you talk about those and how they fit into the show?
Yeah, so the first is a brand new act, a new discipline to our show, brand new music, includes lyrics, a whole different style, very Cirque in its feel, and it's an Icarian Games act. An Icarian is when you have one guy on his back on a chair juggling another guy on his feet. And we actually have two duos in the act. And it's set in the magical forest, and they are rabbits and a skunk and a deer with an animator watching them. And it's an homage to when the animators used to either bring animals into the studio or go out and watch them move as they draw. And with the Icarians, they're flipping and twisting and jumping around, and it's the perfect thing to have an animator trying to catch. Mm-hmm. So that's the feel of that. The second act is an act that already existed in the show, which is Dream of Colors. It was a Russian cradle act all the way upstage, and they were paintbrushes, and it was an homage to Mary Blair and the paint and ink girls and the Disney color palette, use of color. Mm-hmm. And they were paintbrushes, so as he threw her around, she painted on the scrim, and then we saw a lot of projections, images, throwbacks to what Mary Blair had drawn in the different movies and attractions and stuff. And what we did is we've taken the Paint and Ink girls and we've added them as cerceau artists, aerial hoops or lyra. And part of that was because the Cradle Act was so far upstage because of its structure that it felt a little distant. So we wanted to add something that would come down into the audience a little more.
And so Walt Disney Animation Studios, you have worked with them on the show. Is that something you're still working with them when you make any sort of changes?
Only when we make changes to the IP, to be honest. So if we're going to change an image or change music, whether it's to add more or to take some out, we will discuss with them because that's sort of what our relationship has been since the beginning. We wanted a Disney story, but we wanted to tell it in a Cirque way. And part of that is using the imagery and the snatches of music and homages to characters. So they're less of a participant in the show. It's truly a Cirque show, but using Disney imagery and music.
And what do you want guests to kind of take away from the show after they've seen it?
So it's a very Disney heart-based story. So it's a story of self-empowerment of young girls in a very vulnerable position at the beginning. Her father just passed away, and she's not feeling very confident in herself, and she goes on the journey into the world of animation, and by the end learns to trust herself. So that's a message. It's implicit. It's great for kids. It's good for adults too. But also with any Cirque show, what I really like is when people leave and they're just jaw slacked at what they've watched human beings do. That people do things that people should not be able to do. So that's what I love, is when people leave and go, I can't believe what I just saw. I can't believe I just saw those people physically do that.
I think it's it's a great show. We've seen it, and I really love these new acts, the music especially. Oh, and can you talk about the music?
Yeah. So Benoit Jutras is our composer. He did a whole bunch of Cirque shows, a lot of the early stuff. So he has very much the Cirque feel to his music, but this was a chance to come into the Disney world and use bits and pieces of theirs. So he does a wonderful job of selecting just a phrase here and a couple of notes there that evoke a feeling or an image. And he also, I don't know if you had heard Tom say, but we create the act first and then he writes the music to it, which is a little different than, it's more like a film score, as Tom said, but he is brilliant at seeing something and turning that visual movement into music.
Do you have any questions?
No, everything was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.